Hello there, it's Hillary, and welcome back for another Creative Faith video. Today I am going to be setting up my Word of the Year journal for 2023. So I know we're partway through the year already, but I still wanted to film this video, and maybe you have not made a Word of the Year journal yet and would like to join me. So what this is, it is a place to document what God teaches me about my word of the year for the year. So I have made notebooks for the past few years, and I have used them to, again, document what God teaches me as I work and learn about my year throughout the next 365 days. Now, I don't always finish them, but I still like having them to flip through and remember what God taught me about that word or words. A lot of the time I'd pick more than one word, and so it's neat to kind of flip back through and see all of these different prayers and verses and Bible stories. And I do have a digital magazine. I don't know if you knew that, but I have a digital magazine, and one of the articles from my digital magazine from January is different ideas on things that you can put in your Word of the Year journal. I added my digital magazine to my iPad, so I thought this would be a neat way to kind of have them documented, and I will put a link down below if you want to download this one. But in here I have some links to flip throughs of my past Word of the Year journals, and I'll put these links to see those, how I set them up, down below if you want to get some more ideas. But then here are some different things that you can add, like definitions, songs about your word, Bible verses, stories from the Bible, from people who displayed or showed that word, quotes, photos, things like that. And then I have a bunch of different examples from some pictures from these different journals I have. So that's kind of a fun little thing to hopefully inspire you. And again, I'll have setup videos for these if you want to see more of what's inside. So for 2023, my word of the year is trust. When in December, when I was praying and doing some journaling and reflecting on 2022, I was thinking a lot about my life and different areas of my life, and what I was sort of realizing was I'm kind of lacking trust for the Lord in these different areas, trust for Him to provide and lead and guide. And then I got this mug as a Christmas gift, and as I was kind of praying at the end of last year, I kept saying, Lord, please give me a sign. Please make it clear what you want me to focus on in this new year. And then I opened this up and was like, all right, it's pretty clear. I need to work on trusting God more. So I do have a YouTube video all about kind of goal setting and explaining that whole story in a little more detail. So I'll link that down below if you want to check that out. But just neat to see how God answers our prayers and how He works. So originally I was going to use this pink notebook that I got because I just thought, how fun would that be to use something colored like this? But then I really want to use some of my different floral printable borders and corners, and I like printing them on white sticker paper, and if they are on or clear sticker paper, and if they're on clear sticker paper, it won't really show up as much in here. So I decided instead I was going to use this traveler's notebook, and right now it says hello on the cover, but I think I might cover it with one of these sticky notes and stamp Trust 2023 on it and put that on the cover. And then I pulled, this is a printable at my Etsy shop that has these different months, and so what I thought I would do is put 4 to a page and say, what did God teach me about trust in, and then put January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So I thought that would be neat to kind of help me journal and work my way through the whole year in this notebook. I also pulled a printable from my Etsy shop called What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do, and that has this beautiful image here that has my hand lettering for Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, and I'll link that printable down below too. And then I also have this blue floral printable, and that has verses about trust as well. This is one that I made last year in 2022, so it's neat to see how God is using this theme to teach me and guide me. And so Isaiah 26:4 is my kind of key verse for the year. I do love the Proverbs one as well, and we'll be adding this to my notebook, but I really love Isaiah 26:4. There's been a health situation going on with our family in the Dominican Republic. That's where my husband's from, and I sent this to a family member there, and this verse has a lot of meaning to me, and so I really want to use these. And then I took a picture of the mug and a picture of my husband and I, and some pictures off Pinterest to use as well. And I want to show you a few more things. In 2022, one of my words of the year, and probably my key word of the year, was grace. And I bought this book last year at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of 2022, called Grace Laced, because I thought, how perfect would this be to work through and read in 2022? But I didn't open it once. And instead really used this book by the same author. Ruth is a beautiful watercolor artist, and she just is a beautiful author. And so this is the book that I read through last year, and I will put a link to both of these down below on Amazon. I highly recommend them. But it was interesting because the start of 2023 in January, I sat down and I had just finished this one, and I said, I'm going to pull this one out and just see what it's like and read the first entry. And so it's organized by season. So winter's the first one. And the whole first devotion is called Dwell. And it starts off with Psalm 91, verse 1 and 2. I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. And this whole devotion is about trust. And it has that Isaiah verse in here. Isaiah 26:4, trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord God's an everlasting rock. Are you putting your trust and your worth in your surroundings? Have you found yourself sheltered under the wrong source of refuge? And anyways, it was just like, oh my goodness, how funny that I was supposed to read this book last year, but it wouldn't have meant as much to me back then. I mean, I'm sure God would have used it to teach me something, but it just meant so much more that right at the beginning of January, I opened to this book, and the first devotion is all about this word of the year that I'm focusing on. So I just love how God does that. He uses songs and books and people, sermons and encouragement from a friend who loves the Lord to speak to us and encourage us. So the last thing I was going to mention and show you is this illustrated Bible dictionary. And one of the things that I think it's neat to do is to write out a definition of your word of the year. And it was really interesting because I went to T for trust, and it says trust. See, faith, faithfulness. So I thought that was interesting that the word trust is so connected with faithfulness. So I've just been kind of reading through some of these. Faith is the trustful human response to God's self-revelation via his words and actions. He expects people to trust him. And failure to trust him was in essence the first sin. God nurtures and inspires trust in him through what he says and does for the benefit of the people who need him. So I'm going to kind of read through a little bit more of this. I think it's kind of a long long article, but full of really interesting information. So this is a great tool to have if you love doing like word studies and kind of more in-depth Bible studies. This is a really cool resource that has pictures and maps and lots of verses about different words, and I don't know, it's just a really cool Bible study resource. I like using this as I'm preparing for creative faith studies and things like that. So I am going to put you on fast forward now and start setting up my journal, and then I'll come back at the end and show you how it all came together. So I put this little verse in the front from my What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do collection. And then I wrote out some different quotes from the Illustrated Bible Dictionary. So that was really interesting, all these connections with faith and trust. And I used the blue floral printable as well as my hearts printable. And then I wrote a prayer for trusting God this year. And then I set up this monthly thing where each month I can reflect on what God is teaching me about trusting Him. And I used, again, the blue florals and my hearts printable. So that's ready to go for the year. And then I've been reading through the Bible this year, and I'm noticing tons of verses, specifically in the Psalms, about trust. And so I want to write them down here so I can have a whole documented page full of that. And these hearts are a printable in my Etsy shop that I will link down below. Then I used my gray mugs printable, and I put the Bible is full of people who trusted in the Lord. And so I'm going to make a list from the Old Testament and New Testament. And then I could use this as a study point for more deeper pages in the back. So I could pick one of these people and do a more in-depth study on how they trusted God. At church this morning, we sang the goodness of God, and I loved how it talked about God's faithfulness, which is connected with trusting in Him. And I used my Saved by Grace floral printable, which I'll link down below. And then these hearts are another printable that I mentioned earlier. And I use this page to write down quotes from Grace Laced, the book that I mentioned at the beginning. And then our car situation and our tax situation is testing my trust in the Lord, so I wanted to do some journaling and praying about that. So I set these pages up to do that, again using that Hearts printable. And then this page, I want to write out the lyrics to the hymn, "'Tis So Sweet to Trust in Jesus," and possibly do some journaling about the history behind that hymn as well. And then I have lots of pages for more journaling and pictures and things throughout the rest of the year. But I really love how it turned out so far, and I hope this video gave you some ideas on how you can set up your own Word of the Year journal. I'd love to hear in the comments below what word you are focusing on in 2023. Comment below. And let me know too, have you ever made a journal like this before? I'd love to hear that as well. And be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and the bell notification so you don't miss out on any Creative Faith videos. And I hope that you will trust in the Lord this year more as well. And I will see you next time. Bye!